right, we're live on that. Let me get this going.
Hi, everybody.
Is it having a hard time picking you up?
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, it should be. Okay.
It's a little bit quiet, but
Yeah, it's almost like you're not being picked up by the headphones, huh?
yep, it's exactly like that.
Yeah. Try on a different set of headphones. Which one are you on? You're on green.
Those ones?
Try pulling the red one over.
The microphone.
The microphone. Hit it.
I don't hear anything.
Tap it.
Now I hear it.
Yeah. Oh boy, you're all tangled now.
I'll just do the exact same thing when we are over. I'll just put it back.
All right. So that's on. That's on.
So we got people on?
I don't know. I remember I'm doing this other side.
Well, for those of you that are on, welcome. And
Okay.
it is Good Friday today.
Oh, yeah.
Easter this weekend.
Yep.
But I'm very, very excited because we've got a guest that is back on the show that he hasn't been on since early days of the election and early days of political head trauma. He was our second guest, I think, that we ever had. And it is Phil Lyman, who many of you that watch have really, really liked Phil and has actually have asked him to come back on, and we were so excited. He sent out an email announcing that he's running for state Republican chair. And so I replied to that email as a delegate, and he got right back to me, and the wheels started rolling for him to join us on the show today. So we're really excited to have him on. Do you want to do an intro?
Yeah, we'll put that intro on here in just a second. I'm just checking all the things.
All the things. And we're going to let a couple people join us. If you are just getting on YouTube, Rumble, welcome. Welcome, Facebook friends. And thank you to our partners, KMMU, for helping us through this. I am Holly, and this is Jared.
All right, let's kick this intro off.
From the Great Basin to the Rockies to the four corners of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, this is KMMU Main Street Media Utah coming to you live. You can find us on Rumble, YouTube, X, Facebook, and our website, kmmu.org. Please join our hosts, Jared and Holly, for Political Head Trauma, where if Head Trauma had a podcast, it would be just like this. Take it away, Jared and Holly.
Humana. Hi, Mom.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so we're here. And I guess without further ado, we'll just bring Phil right on. And there he is.
Phil. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey. Well, I'm sorry. I'm kind of on the road, so I hope this connection is working and you can hear me all right.
We can hear you great.
We hear you just fine.
Okay,
so
perfect.
We'll get right to it. I know we don't have a ton of time with you, but you're well known around this state. You've got quite the reputation. People who, especially Republicans here in Utah and the delegates of this state, absolutely know you. You are the nominee for the GOP convention, running for governor, and you are also now throwing your hat in the ring to run for state party chair. So tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it is funny, driving up today, it dawned on me that 10 years tomorrow morning, I was checking into to prison, and nobody knew me then. Well, I guess they kind of did from that episode, and then since then, it's just kind of weird because it's like not, it's so, everything's been out of like my comfort zone, and getting into state legislature after that, I was county commissioner, state legislature. And honestly, I started out just wanting to answers to some questions, and found out that the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, is lying to us. And liars do not like people that tell the truth. And I feel like that's all I've really done is come in and ask some honest answers, and it's created all kinds of publicity around me in the media and everything else. So here I am, and that led me to running for governor, and now it's led me to running for the state party chair. Just still trying to fight the fight.
Well, and tell a little bit of history. What were you going to jail for? I know it was with BLM, but for those that don't know.
In 2014, I was part of a protest for illegal closure of a road near my home, and the BLM was invited. The sheriff's office was there. There was about 1,000 people there, and it was very peaceful and very legal. And then it was 5 months later that the Bureau of Land Management, or I should say the U.S. Attorney's Office, under pressure from the BLM, prosecuted me for conspiracy to trespass, a misdemeanor charge. No one's ever heard of a misdemeanor conspiracy
to trespass.
Yeah. So I tell people, if you ever get charged federally, and in the charge is the word conspiracy, that just means you're going to jail, because conspiracy is a thought. You were thinking about something, and other people thought about it because you were thinking about it. And
well,
so
I would say they conspired to put you in jail.
About it. Yeah, my attorney at the time said, take no comfort in the fact that you're innocent. This is no difference. And I thought he was being complete. And I was like, that's not true. It's not going to happen in my case, because I'm a good person. And I can talk to people. And I got up there, and the first opening argument in court, I was like, holy cow, what country do we live in, and who are these people? It was such a show. I would have paid tickets to go if I didn't have a free pass already.
Oh my goodness. So that kind of makes me think of Minority Report and a thought crime. You know, you're thinking about doing a crime, therefore you're guilty of said crime. So that kind of led you down the path to run for governor, right?
It did.
And you were a legislature first.
Yeah. So I was a county commissioner when that happened. I got out, and about a year later, my representative, Mike Noel, who I love dearly, let me know that he wasn't running again. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to run. And so I got in the legislature and questions. In fact, after the 2020 election integrity, because I wasn't like taking on this big election integrity battle. It was, again, it's like I stayed up election night. I watched things shift, and I thought, we need an explanation. Well, I found out asking for an explanation election can also get you thrown in jail, and it did for many people. And it just turns into a fight. It just turns into a battle, and what they count on from the other side is that the fatigue of going to battle with them will wear you out. They'll sue you. They'll take you to court. They'll do all these things, and so being a legislator, I felt like I had an obligation to at least ask those questions and to stand up, and it just turned into another kind of a crusade. Not because I chose a crusade, but because they chose to make mincemeat out of anybody that questioned it. And right here in Utah, right with our own lieutenant governor's office, and it's really, really frustrating.
Yeah, it does seem like election integrity is kind of on the minds of everyone in politics and everyone who pays attention right now.
Well, especially after the 2020 race.
Yeah.
A lot of us went to bed knowing who the winner was, and the next day these millions of votes had come through, and just asking the question branded you a conspiracy theorist and an election denier and all these things. And it was really an eye-opener for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah, it is one of those things. I was going to say, if people are lying, they do not want someone asking questions or telling the truth. They think they can just call you a conspiracy theorist and you'll go away. And they're not wrong about that in a big point of it. But yeah, they cheated. I mean, 2020 was a fraud, and we're going to find that out. We're going to find out the 2024 gubernatorial primary election in Utah was a fraud. We're finding that out already with the signatures. If we could look at the cast vote records, I guarantee you, we would find even bigger irregularities than we found already.
well, and the governor's race was very contentious. Back to convention, you had an excellent turnout at convention. The delegates chose you as their nominee, and the state party, as well as all the county parties. I know our county party and many others also chose you as our nominee, as far as endorsing you and leading up to the primary. And after that's all said and done, you've gone through this process now, through an election process and utilizing the caucus convention system, which I know you're a firm believer in. And county chairs like myself, we don't exist without the caucus convention system. Delegates don't exist without it. And I think the majority of Utah voters don't really understand it. But the importance of it is that somebody can start a caucus, and actually the delegate's job is so important. It's sitting, we get to sit down with you as delegates, and we get to know what you are running for, what your beliefs are, what your history is. And you were someone that is very open. You've always been very great to talk to. You're the friendliest person, but you really dive into issues with a common sense approach, which was really breathtaking for people that were just feeling very pissed off at government and even the party. So you're going now back to the delegates to ask their vote for party chair. And I know that you've sent a notice out to the delegates about what you're advocating for, which is exactly the caucus convention system.
Can you lay out for us real quick what's as party chair, what do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I think people need to recognize that there is an elite faction that controls everything in Utah, and including the elections, including who gets to run, who gets to be on the ballot. It's driven by money. It's driven by the big mantra is, well, Phil can't raise money because he's going to make all. Well, the big donors they're talking about are, and these people that have huge interest in the way the government is conducted. And so I guess my purpose is coming and saying, is there still for government by people? Does the power flow from the people upwards, or is it very much a top-down dynamic? And in Utah, we have been convinced that, you can't be in politics if you don't have the blessing of the top-down cartel. And I think if any place we can make the statement, it's going to be at convention with the state delegates, because I think it's really hard to cheat there. The delegates are truly, as you mentioned, Holly, they're informed. They're part of the neighborhood effort, and they try to find out what's going on. They're educated. They'll show up to state convention kind of knowing what's at stake, and unlike maybe the average person in Utah that's easily swayed, state delegates are not easily swayed.
Well, yeah, it's the tough part is that 54 is you get it goes through the delegates, people who are involved and self-educated on it and seek to know what's going on. And then it goes out to the general populace and they go, oh, I know that name. That's the name that my newscaster says every night. That's the name that runs all the ads. So yeah, you're right. It's controlled by money. It's controlled by developers in this state. This state is developer heavy on our legislative side. And yeah, it's unhealthy.
Well, I think it's very. I mean, it's obvious though. The money is needed. Last time we took on SB 54 about 10 years ago as a party, we were in the weeds bad with legal fees. Like you said, the battle and the money fighting against our caucus convention system is, I don't know, unlimited. And they will bully us into the ground. We went all the way to the Supreme Court and lost, of us being a private party able to run our elections how we see fit. And I've seen many or state party chairs whose job it is to be the guide through the SEC meetings and to organize the, and handle the conventions, things like that. The party chair has to be very in the middle, as you say, while trying to raise money, while showing candidate support, while showing delegate support. There's no party chair without caucus convention. And the argument there is that if we decide to rock this apple cart, what happens to the party if the financial side dries up? I mean, personally, I think we all should be donating as delegates. We should be paying for our own seat at convention. If it's $20 or $27, I think a convention can be $100,000. But if the delegates paid for their own seat, that would eliminate a lot of the need of the party to come up with that money and fundraise for
Not
it.
to sound like a complete communist, but why don't we try removing these big money projects from politics altogether?
What
Let's
big
give
money?
politics back to the people.
You have to have conventions.
Sure, but let's
There-
remove
So
the
a couple
big
of-
money out of it.
The expenses of the party aren't that big. They
Yeah.
rent a small space. They have
Maybe you're
very
forgetting
few-
what you're not hearing what I'm saying.
Oh, I guess I am not hearing you. What do you
No,
mean?
let's make it so that big developers can't dump a big heavy paycheck to support one guy and outweigh the rest of the
I'm only
delegates.
talking about the party itself. Who writes
Yeah,
checks to the GOP?
Party means little or nothing. Party has no actual effect on the world. Parties are,
He's running
original
for chair
destruction.
of the party.
but we need to remove the money from politics.
You can't, or you can't. How do you organize? How do you organize your people? How do you have your delegates organize and vote for candidates like Phil, and follow him all the way to convention? What's the purpose of delegates then?
Well, keep money in, then SB 54 wins. Good luck.
I don't think you understand the actual needs of the party. Phil, please go on.
All right. Yeah. I hope you can hear me. Okay. I hope you can hear me all right on your.
Can you hear us?
Oh, he'll be back.
So for those who don't know, the state party chair fundraises, but not to the level that our national committeeman does. And he fundraises for Utah and he works nationally, and that's Brad Bonham. And the party right now has got a lot more money fundraised than ever before from all types of interests, all types. Candidates donate, yes, but the party's job is to assist candidates in their mailings and all that
he's
stuff.
Back. Okay, we lost you for a second.
Sorry
But
about
you're
that.
back.
Yeah, it felt like we were gonna lose it. So here's what I said during my campaign for governor, and I told my people over and over: we will have all the money we need, and if we don't have money, it's because we don't need money. What we need is the hearts and minds of the people. If you don't have the hearts and minds of the people, then you're going to have a really hard time raising money, and you're going to be susceptible to the big donors that want to buy the party. They want that R. That R is really, really valuable, and we give it away. We give it away to Democrats who.
It just throws him right back. Okay, go on. You said we give it away. We give the R away.
Somebody is sabotaging this, but yeah, we give the R away. So number one, I can raise money. There's 900. If we're Republican values, there's going to be 925,000 Republicans, and some will give a lot. I raised more money than any gubernatorial candidate in history that was not an incumbent. And I didn't do it by going out and begging for money. People were calling saying, where can I donate? How can we be part of this? So there's going to be money. The other thing on this, and this is, if people want to, play it safe and say, well, we don't want to rattle the cage. We don't want to upset the money train. They're probably not going to vote for me. But if they want to vote for me, we've got a plan to take over the election. I mean, why do we wait for the lieutenant governor to tell us who our candidate is out of the Republican primary? Should we not run our own primary and let the lieutenant governor know who our candidate is? And it's really backwards. And then the lieutenant governor says, you can't look at anything. You can't look at the votes. You can't look at the signatures. You can't look behind the applications. You can't get any of our communications. She runs that whole election as if it's her own personal, enterprise, and we have to beg for a little bit of information. The legislature won't go hard after it. The party wouldn't go up hard after that information. And now we're finding, as I said right after the primary, I think there's problems. I think the governor cheated. And before the primary, I said I think the governor doesn't have his signatures. All of those things are things that the Utah GOP, if they care about that R and who gets to put it by their name, then they would take those things on. And we're going to take those things on. And it's not about going to the Supreme Court and suing like they did before. It's about saying we are not subjects of the Utah State Legislature. The Utah GOP is not a part of, we're not a governmental entity. We're a private organization, a private party that formed in order to create some influence and to put candidates on the ballot. The fact that we're a supermajority in Utah is not a disadvantage to us, and we've got to stop acting like it is. We've got to be willing to flex our muscle and go and put our candidates on. And then the way you get the good candidates onto the slate is through your neighborhood caucuses. It's like, how does a person make it through that gauntlet if they're a Democrat? And the answer is some of them will, but not a lot. Right now, you don't have to go through that process. You just write a check. You don't even have to get your signatures. You just have to say you're going to get signatures, write a big check, and your name goes on the primary ballot, and you do a couple of $1 million worth of television ads, and you win. So
yeah, I mean, in 2 years we could have Alexandria Ocasio-Consuelo as one of our delegates because she bought her way in.
100%. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really, you have to file, and yes, you have to advertise. Incumbents will always have the advantage because their name is already known. And we have a lot of voters that don't make it their business to be informed other than said commercials or whatever. That I think comes down to the voters, and we can't force voters. This is my fear. Count My Vote was successful. One, because it was the best marketing strategy of all time. Everybody wants their vote counted. But I think that actually SB 54 was a compromise because they wanted to end the caucus and they wanted jungle primaries. And what happens if they decide to, because if they took it to the ballot, they knew they had the votes to win. And what happens if something like this goes to the ballot with people who aren't informed or understand SB 54? They are going to probably vote on the side of count my vote. Yes, I want to be heard, and I don't want to have to go to a caucus. And we get thrown into jungle primaries, then the party doesn't matter.
Well, if the party is an extension of the legislature, if we're a product of the legislature, then we should keep acting like that. And my contention is that we're not a product of the legislature. We are an independent party with the right of association. And the U.S. Supreme Court has backed up that whole argument from the beginning. The reason we have SB 54 with any teeth in it is because the party has said, okay, the legislature says we're going to do this, and so we're going to do this. I promise you, we could run a primary with almost no money. It would mean that people would have to vote in person, on paper, and probably a one-day election for the Republican primary, and we would have, which is the direction everything's going right now. Thank goodness for Donald Trump and the pressure that he's putting on to get rid of universal mail-in ballots. There's only one reason to have universal mail-in ballots, is that's so you can cheat. Anybody that wants election integrity is getting rid of those things. The Republican Party could lead out and say, we're going to pick our candidate. And if we want to go with a signature route, then we can go with the signature route. The interesting thing in 2024 was we had one clear winner out of convention and one person who didn't even get his 28,000 signatures. Yet we're still bound by this weird process. So if we want to go and say, okay, we'll still allow a signature route, that's the party's decision. But when it comes time to do the primary, we would have a primary election that the Republicans would oversee, and then they would do it. And we would notify the lieutenant governor of the results of the primary instead of waiting for them to notify us.
Now, that's, I love it. And mind you, I love it. And someone who's been fighting against SB 54 since I've been in my position, I believe in it so strongly. Our current elected representation and the leadership for GOP has been focused so tightly on how do we improve caucus? How do we get, and I know this because we meet regularly with the chair as party chairs to try to enhance, especially before caucus, other chairs working to improve attendance at caucus, improve advertising of caucus, make it something that is brought into the 21st century, which has been needed for decades, right? We need every single person to know when it is, where it is, and to get engaged. Any voter in Utah, Democrats and Republicans, we both caucus. So the state party has made a valiant effort, and their effort was crushed on caucus day last time, I believe, by a third party trying to do damage to the system.
Yeah.
And here they had tested it and they had done everything they could. And again, we had problems. What they're doing now is launching their website, trying to explain and educate the populace again on what exactly it is, while also trying to improve the experience. What do you see you could do to do that one major important thing, and that is educate the populace?
Yeah, it's a revival of sorts that we need, just like a religious revival. People need to be reminded that, hey, this is how we make a difference in Utah. We get involved and we show up to our caucus meetings. I mean, I remember as a young kid, my parents would, head off to caucus and the kids were home because it was caucus night. Everybody went to caucus. Now you talk about caucus and people are like, well, why would I do it? They're just going to go around. They've kind of gutted it, neutered it. And so people are discouraged with that. I think we revive the whole idea of the Republican form of government and the Republican Party, and people, it takes some promotion. You get out and you promote it, which takes money and time.
Yes.
I've said we should be more interested in the influence that we have, because that's what a political party ultimately is influence. And I mean actual influence on social media with followers. You look at some of these big accounts that have millions of followers. There's no reason why the Republican Party of Utah couldn't at least have, a couple of 100,000 followers. Now, when you have a candidate who's looking for the support of the Republican Party, is like, okay, we're going to give you data and we're going to reach out to our members, which we have access to. Right now, it feels like they're so disconnected from all of that. You can't get good data from the party. They say, well, this is the best we've got. Sorry, you're going to have to go buy it from a private individual, whatever. Then it's like, do we put up banners? Do we have the social media apparatus functioning? We don't, but we should and we could. And so all of those things, I'm a big fan of social media. I think it's God's gift to our generation. Nobody that I know pays much attention to mainstream media, yet we still run campaigns by, well, you need, I think I spent probably $600,000 on television commercials. But they didn't do anything near what the few $100,000 I spent on, targeted Facebook ads and things like that. So we just need to step into this space. We need to reach out to the younger voters. That's another thing I was told. He's like, oh, it's the 45 to 60. Those are the ones. That's your bread and butter. And I said, no, we're going after the kids. We're going after the college kids, because they talk to their parents and their parents ask them, what are you seeing? And it was huge. We had this massive movement. So the Republican Party, number one, we've got to step into the 21st century and then we need to embrace the young people. And I guess this is something that we can and should do. And I keep saying, it's that Stephen Covey statement: don't let the things that matter most be at the mercy of the things that matter least. And getting out and supporting candidates, that's important, that's good, but we need to fix the apparatus. We need to fix the apparatus that says, if you're going to be a Republican, right from the neighborhood on up, you're going to get vetted by really good people, and we're going to have really good candidates come out of this. And I think it energizes the whole party. And again, you got the Trump effect is kind of the wind is at our back instead of in our face this time, which is huge.
It feels so nice, doesn't it? I mean, the sun shines brighter. It just feels like a new world after the last 4 years. Now, with our current, and I work very closely with our current party chair. I respect him tremendously. I know after the election, especially the primary, he went to work, and he too had a lot of battles with the state, and it's not an easy position for a party chair to be in. As you mentioned, it's the establishment is what it is. And I'm wondering, what would you do differently as party chair? Because I know he tried to have the signatures pulled. I know that he's been pushing SB 54. He's tried to get people to legislate. We know the House is willing to put up the bill, but the Senate is not. And he's actively tried to do that. We've tried to do that with our local senators and House. And our House members are like, yeah, we put up the bill, but Senate won't pick it up. What would you do differently? Because you've been on the Hill.
Yeah.
You know what's going on up there.
So, I've got people in my circle that hate it when I say how much I respect Rob Axson, but we go way back. Rob and I are friends. I had this discussion, we had a long discussion, and I told him, I said, I would rather support you, but we have got to fix elections. We got to take on election integrity. And that means going to the lieutenant governor's office and demanding transparency, demanding the voter rolls, demanding the cast vote records. And Rob, probably to his credit, he is not one who wants to take on a fight. He doesn't want to make enemies in the lieutenant governor's office. But we have to. We have to go and demand that these things happen. And that wasn't done by the GOP. They did not demand voter rolls. They haven't, and now those are coming out. Judicial Watch is said they're going to sue over the voter rolls. I've been asking for voter rolls for over 4 years for the same reason. Why do we have all these illegal aliens registered as voters? So all of this is kind of falling apart again serendipitously at this time. And now people are, legislators are stepping forward and saying, oh, look, we're running these election bills. Well, that's Steve Christiansen was running election bills 4 years ago and got completely destroyed by these same people now that want to champion it. I was right there with him. My bill in 2021, HB 371, was the election bill that would have addressed virtually all these issues that now they're coming and wanting to do a victory lap saying how smart they are. I'm kind of rambling on here, but the case in point, the Attorney General's office knew in March of 2024, before the end of the signature gathering period, that Spencer Cox had a ton of fraudulent signatures that were being turned over to the Attorney General for investigation. Why didn't they prosecute? Why didn't they do something before the primary election? And the answer is because the governor asked them not to. Ask them to wait until the general election. So the governor knew he didn't have his signatures. The Attorney General knew he didn't have they didn't have their signatures. Yet there's some nefarious thing that happened between the governor and the Attorney General at the time that they were not going to rock that boat. They weren't going to cause the wave. So it's like, again, it's this top-down thing. It's like, okay, the elites have decided that it's going to roll out this way. Ryan Wilcox, and Representative Wilcox had a bill to turn the elections over to a committee instead of to the lieutenant governor. They came back, they pulled the bill, and I said, why did we pull the bill? And they said, Governor Cox said he would support it, but only after the election. I mean, this kind of stuff goes for on the scale of culpability. This goes from like innocent, innocently naive to negligent to criminal to covering up to deceit, criminal deceit. And I think that's as this stuff comes to light, it gets to where it's like, okay, this is not people acting in goodwill. And I'm not talking about necessarily a specific legislator, but I am talking about the lieutenant governor and the governor and the pressure that they put on this to like, let us just run our back room election one more time, and then you can bring all these election bills and you can take your victory lap, but only after we get elected. It's wrong. It's really sick and wrong. Elon Musk sees it.
Did you sue? I mean, did you have some open cases against the state?
Oh yeah, 9.
And how did they fare? How did you do in court? I honestly don't know.
Dismissed. The Supreme Court. We took it straight to the Utah Supreme Court on the signatures. They came back not with just a dismissal, but with a rebuke and a how dare you question these courts? I was like, this is not what a judge. Thank you, Jared.
Hold on. Have you heard my argument before about why the Supreme Court will never back honesty?
No.
Because the Supreme Court is the defender of the government. And if the government has done wrong and the Supreme Court comes down so easy on saying the government done, what happens the next day? Let's look at it not in this Utah case. Let's look at it in the case where Texas was going after Pennsylvania, right? What does that next day look like? Imagine the chaos that rains down on the whole U.S. I mean, talk about that. That would probably disrupt our standing on the global stage. It's not just a little effect here and there.
You're right.
It's a record. That's why the Utah Supreme Court is going to be like, dude, you're rocking this boat. We're getting rich. Our friends are getting rich. Don't you come rocking this boat. Wait your turn. And that's what's going on.
I feel such an obligation to be able to explain this, and it's really, really hard and frustrating when I recognize that what we're saying, and when I say we, I mean all of these people that are like kind of in my camp or whatever, and the message gets lost because someone goes, off, on their crazy stick and says things, and it's like there is a truth here, and it's really, really hard to get it through, because there is so much opposition to it, and there's so much false narrative. One misstep, and people are like, "Oh, you're just hateful people." It's like, yeah, I can see why you would say that, but still, this election, there's cheating, and we've got to fix that. SB 54 is a symptom of a broken system. It is not the thing that broke the system. It's a symptom of a society that believes that they are subjects instead of in charge of their own election.
Well, I mean, we are peasants. Let's face it.
We are.
I recognize that right off the start, especially every year when the IRS comes a knocking like they just did. I recognize that I'm a peasant. The sheriff came and shook me for my shilling.
Well, to get on that, and I've told you this face to face, well, phone to phone.
Yeah.
That a lot of folks that do support you are on Facebook and things like that. They're not the nicest or the most agreeable or even reasonable at times. And I think that too is a symptom of a broken system. Their frustration, but they're defending you, but at the same time, they have their own way of attacking anyone who even asks questions. And I know you've said it. That's not who you are, and it's not how you behave. And I need people to remember that when you're speaking for a candidate, you need to remember that you're talking to people who might really value this candidate, and you could absolutely turn that candidate or that person away from a candidate by the people who support you could very well. They make a lot of media posts against people. They accuse people of being rhinos if they're not absolute on board behind you. And I think a lot of people could easily get behind you based on a reasonable, just this conversation we're having. I mean, you're very reasonable. You're making so much sense. People could support you based on your experience, your knowledge. But there are a ton of people. There's a few out there that are making it very difficult, especially on social media, who are speaking on your behalf.
Hopefully they've calmed down now. But no, I mean,
it's even bad.
Is
now.
it?
People speak. I mean, people speak on social media. That's what they do. So I mean, if we wanted to weigh in the balance, go and look at Chad Iverson and the things that he says about me and about my family and about my daughters and about my wife and my mother. And I mean, and he's out there saying, you're a sore loser. Cox won. Is like, does he speak for Spencer Cox when he sends me private messages about doing sexual things to all my children? It's like. So it's disgusting.
It
It's
is.
vile. It's gross. It's disgusting. I get it from Todd Weiler. I get it from Mike McHale. I get it from official sources. I get it all day, every day. Complete ridicule. Complete, vile, disgusting nonsense. And so, and yes, and I get on, and I honestly don't spend much time on social media. I look at it for a bit. I value the information, and there's so much noise, but there is information, unlike the mainstream media. So you sift through that and you look at it. But so yeah, when I see somebody with a Lyman logo or wearing a Lyman hat and being really obnoxious, I think it's not something that's necessarily helping the cause, but it's freedom, it's speech, and I am not one to censure. I was the single legislator that voted against censuring Natalie Klein, and it's because it's not our point, it's not our place. And anyway,
Oh, that's a great answer.
It's a raucous, rough place in social media. Some of it is really like R-rated, X-rated.
Yeah,
And,
I think people can
hard.
complain about it when we start dueling again.
Yeah, exactly. It is. I mean, thank God for Elon Musk and bringing, some freedom of expression back to Twitter. I think it was a game changer.
Amen.
It's not
Most
perfect,
important man.
yeah, it's pretty astonishing. But no, I totally hear you. I hear you. I validate that. It's hard, but it's like the right hard. It's like, okay, well, let's deal with the chaos of freedom of speech instead of the chaos that comes from silencing it. And so yeah, man, it is a different world, and I that's why I look to the younger kids. It's like, you guys grew up with this. You kind of understand how to decipher what's truth, whereas some of people in my generation really are fatigued by it. They just want out. They just want to disconnect.
At the end of the day, we choose what offends us and what doesn't. And like I said, like I have to choose not to be offended, because freedom of speech should always win, and freedom period should always win. So I appreciate that. Yes, you understand. I mean, we recognize that people are accused of being something they're not, but that's between them. And I had no idea you were getting that kind of rhetoric towards you. That's terrible.
I mean, people talk about death threats and stuff like as if it's like, oh, well, I'm a legislator. It's like, oh man, go back and I mean, I've been dealing with it for at least the last 12 years. But I don't. But again, I don't say that as like I'm a victim at all. I look at it and say, this is kind of an interesting cage fight that's going on, and so when the other side says, hey, you're not playing by the rules, it's like, wait a second, let's figure out if there are rules, then let's establish that. But it's pretty freeform on social media, and it's tough. So then you come down to like winning an election in that environment, and it's trying again to get the message through. I do feel a deep obligation to explain things to people in a way that they can actually hear it and understand it. And I think that's kind of what got us going down this path. It's really hard in the environment to actually, say this is the rational, honest thing that we're going to try to do, because it gets commandeered and swept away, but sometimes by your own people, well-meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned legislation. Has legislation passed this year that would help as far as voter integrity?
Yeah. Norm Thurston had a bill that I think brings some transparency, some greatly needed transparency. The big one, the HB 300 bill, I thought did more damage than good, but it's got a few things in there that might help to bring some access to the signature packets, and a couple of those things, really marginal benefits, and some big things that went the other direction. But yeah, nothing major that I thought was a real big win for the legislature, for people.
Something that I wish we had is we get our caucus attendees, and sometimes we get the list of those folks who want to share their information. We know who's there because they check in and they use their ID and everything. But when I have a candidate come and say, "May I have your delegate list?" I can give that to them. I do give it to them. The state party handles state lists, of course. But for delegates, it's great. We only get, when you get a voter registration list, I mean, it's this thick and you have to pay for it. We get one every year. And I'm just wondering, a lot of times it just has an address it doesn't have phone numbers. I mean, is that something we could do legislation over, to voter ID, so that when people vote, they have a phone number? So for candidates in the future, because the lists feel incomplete as a party chair to hand over to my candidate. I mean, my job is to help. Your job as a party chair would be to help candidates, every candidate, get their stuff out there. But do you see any answer to that problem?
So a really interesting thing that happens in this, so you get all the party data. They say we gave you all the data, and it's like you said, well, I've got addresses and a phone number, but not an email address. Or I've got an email address, but not a phone number, and you're trying to make a list.
It's
but
not easy.
But then you find out, oh, if you want a good list, there is a person that has it, but they charge a lot for it. And you find out that their role is an official data keeper for the Republican Party. And it's like, wait a second. So you have a role of keeping data, but if I want the good stuff, I got to go and cut a deal and write a check. Shouldn't the party be the ones that have the good stuff? And to me, it's an end run. And a few of the candidates like, oh yeah, well, this guy that's got the information, he just gave it to me. We're friends. We go way back. It's like, wait, so that's the data that I wanted to run my campaign, but I can't have that. I get the messy list from the party, and they shrug their shoulders and say that's the best we can do. It's someone's playing a shell game with the data. Data is everything. They know it. Kudos for them for recognizing that this is really valuable data. But shame on them for commandeering it and making it a private enterprise when it should be the party's data.
Is it an elected person in the state party?
No.
So it's an employee of the state party? Because I too would like this information.
It's the data guy. Yeah, and he was. Well, I don't want to go too much into it because I know only third party, but bragging about, I've got 1.2 million good contacts, email addresses, phone numbers. It's like, well, that's what I want. Oh no, that's my own. Sorry, I didn't mean to give the impression that the party had that. That's my own data. It's for sale.
This is a comedy. This is too much. You're kidding me. Oh my gosh. I know where to buy tar. I know where to buy feathers. It's time to start. Seriously.
Well,
I mean, people do need to recognize this. It's like, no, they're playing games. And this is the thing, people are tired of being lied to. After COVID and after everything, you get to a point, people right now are like, it's like Joe Rogan said, he said, I used to be pro-vax. I used to do this. Now I don't even believe that men walked on the moon. And that's kind of what we're dealing with, is like people are so done with being lied to. They don't know what's true, but they do know they're being lied to. And I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox here. So.
No, and I know we're reaching your time limit. So let's read some comments really quick. David Weiss says, Phil is the best. Sherry says, I'm here, guys. Hi, Mom. Thank you for tuning in. And you have the ones off of YouTube?
Yep. Give me 1 second.
Thank you for being here. We really appreciate you. I know, what is it, the event you're going to tonight?
It's the Firm Foundation Book of Mormon Symposium that they do. It's really good. It's like a 3-day thing, and they have really great speakers. I was really honored that they asked me to come and talk. So
That's great. And you know what? When you talk about the young people, I have to say, I believe the young people is who delivered the win for 2024 for Donald Trump. And he even says so. And I think a lot of people are not recognizing the power the young person has. I mean, and the Democrats have had that vote for so long. And this new generation is awake. They got red pilled, I guess, early on, and they're awake, and they're not going to the news for their stories. They're going to podcasts and social media. And so it is important to make sure you're advertising to those folks and talking to them like the intelligent, politically intelligent folks that they are. They're getting engaged on purpose, which is a great thing. Do you want to read them?
Yeah. All right. So Jordan Lott says, "Hey, Phil, my homie Phil, run for governor again. Phil needs to educate us on how the legislative process. Awesome show tonight. Awesome show right now. We need 1 million good patriots in the country. 100%. I love the suit. Yeah. So still, Jordan, he likes your suit. We need election integrity always. Question the government. His dad also approves. He's looking forward to hear your vision for the state party." And then he says he agrees with me and Holly. "Yes, I totally agree. We need the hearts and minds of the people. You are so right, Phil. Let the people help the candidate be successfully to win." And hi, Norma. And we got some other comments on Facebook too that I don't know if they're.
I just read them.
You missed quite a few of them.
Oh, why aren't they showing up?
I don't know, but I'll go through them for you. Okay. I gotta roll up. Rob McNeely and David Weiss are talking about how they're wondering, have you reached out to cryptocurrency guys, gotten them on board, gotten their financial backing?
I have some friends that are in that space. I haven't asked them for money. I do ask them for advice.
Just ask them for crypto.
Right? Somebody said, if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money. And I find that is really true.
That is really a good point.
Yeah, that is. Matt Jones says, any ideas how to educate when most will not attend the meetings? How do we reach people directly?
Who said that?
Matt Jones.
Excellent.
Well, you guys are doing it, and I applaud you for that. There's somebody today was like, "Oh, I can't watch podcasts. There's too many of them." I was like, "It's true. There are a lot of podcasts, but that's where you have to go participate." So you guys are the example of how you do that, and it takes a little bit of work to sift through it. So get busy.
Thanks.
It does. It's made it harder, I think, on people running for elections because they have to probably be on more small things than like going right to ABC. But I think it's more authentic, and I certainly don't script what I'm going to talk to you about. I mean, when on ABC do they mention tar and feathers?
Right. So the people that are listening here are probably the ones who already recognize that, and to the other people that maybe don't tune in, the message is it really does matter. It really does. So get involved. It's not a spectator sport, and even though
hopefully people will like and comment and share the video when they see it, when you have someone that you're interested in or politics around the state. It's great to share it because that's how the word gets out.
Sharon Koslaka, I always mess up your last name, Sharon. I apologize. She says, thanks for stepping up, Phil. She met you in Park City last year, and she thanks you for exposing all of this. Old timer from the show way back, Stevie Stevens, I apologize, says tar and feathers for sure. Matt Jones says the data should be free and equal for all candidates and voters. maybe legislation could fix that. Yes.
So I have a question. Given your history, these past year especially, and seeing the anger and the passion that gets in these elections, as a party chair, do you think um, you could be level and what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, you could be fair and help all candidates alike, even if they're people that you've encountered in this past year?
Yes, I mean, I know I can. You know, in my business, I'm a CPA. I work with a lot of businesses. We've built great companies that have done really big things, and I tell my business clients is, it's always business first. Take care of your business first. If you don't take care of your business, you're not going to be there to, you know, provide for the family and things like that. And that's kind of, again, it's like, don't let the things that matter least get in the way of the things that matter most. And I think that I think it's going to be a ton of work. It is a very thankless job. It's really daunting to be the party chair. But if we focus on the things that matter most, really fixing the apparatus again, I think it serves everybody. And without inserting myself in places that just take up a lot of time and energy, that would be my that would be my goal. And yes, I think we can do it. I think it'll be a pleasant experience.
Well, and I mean, as head of the party, neutrality has to be number one. Every candidate needs to get the same data, the same shot. They need to all have an opportunity that are exactly the same. And as a party chair, you don't represent one side, you represent all sides. And it's your job to be the organizer and the deliberator. You're keeping the group communicating under certain rules and expectations. So neutrality is key, and I think it would be hard for a lot of people to be able to maintain neutrality after what you've gone through this past year. So that's why I ask.
Yeah, no, the system right now is for the elite. It serves the elite, and the grassroots person is at a huge disadvantage, and everyone can see that. So right now we have a system that you may stand up and speak in a neutral tone, but you're putting your thumb on the scale. And that's, to me, that's more important, is to take the thumb off the scale. I have no problem, you know, not even commenting about candidates. That's not a problem for me. But what I insist on is that there's not a thumb on the scale. And that's where, honestly, that's where you're going to get the biggest pushback. That's where the Todd Weilers come out of the woodwork, and, you know, we're going to take away the caucus system. You know, we're going to destroy the Republican Party and replace it with a new Republican Party that will serve our interests the way it's served them in the past. So I think it's a false neutrality that we're seeing from the party currently.
Well, and not many have held the position for too long as party chair. So, I mean, you could look at 4 years and have to be party chair if you decided not to run for governor, and be the party chair over another election of our current governor. And I'm wondering what that would look like.
Yeah, well, number one, I don't think Spencer's running in 4 years. He said he's not. But irrespective of that, the system is the system, and it's either been, you know, it's either run by pirates or it's run by honest people. And right now it's being, and I don't mean Rob Axon, and I don't mean, but at the state level, the legislature, kind of this syndicate, this cartel, whatever you want to call it. There's a group of pirates in Utah and in the United States, and they know what they're doing, and it's our job to fight against that. And we just, if we're not willing to fight against it, then we're complicit, and I'm not going to be complicit.
Norma just said, it sounds to me that Phil wants to treat all candidates like he wishes he was treated. Kudos to him. It's a great point. I mean, it's a great point. Grassroots, for our party to work, we have to be organized. We have to fundraise. And we have to have legitimacy where it comes to those issues. And the vote has to count. I believe fully in integrity. Voting integrity has to be right at the top of the list.
So I think I might have mentioned this to you, Holly, but a mantra, and anybody that's worked close with me will tell you in my campaign, they heard me say many, many times, ask not what the party can do for you, ask what you can do for the party. And I meant it, and I feel it. And I look at the party as like an extension of our collective energy. So we shouldn't be looking and saying, hey, the party should be doing this for me, or giving me this money, or any of these things. It's like, no, what can I do? What can I do to make the party better? And if we could like instill that a little bit, you really get people to say, I'm gonna give my best effort to the Republican Party because it needs me. It needs us. It would be a beautiful thing. Whereas right now, I think it has been commandeered, and I think it's being used selfishly by a handful of people.
And it makes it so people don't want to give their effort to it. If their efforts amount to nothing. I mean, right now, this is not for you. This is a message for maybe one of the apparatchiks that are controlling this. Keep tearing the caucus system down. You'll keep having, on your caucus night, you'll have, a precinct of 2 people that shows up, and then they've got to rock, paper, scissors over who has to be the chair of that precinct. And it'll mean nothing. And then the Democrats will come in and maybe, if you're lucky, they'll make the changes you want when they take over. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And
you can't have, I mean, here's what, I'm not a Republican, so I can say this, doesn't bother me. I'm an anti-party person myself, kind of like the founding fathers were, the good ones anyway. Last year was embarrassing for your caucus to do this and then the general populace to vote a different way. And bought in or not, it was still embarrassing. And I was like, ooh.
It happens every year.
Yeah,
And until delegates learn to communicate with their neighbors about why they're voting for this person and why they're choosing this person at convention, and get the word out to their neighbors so their neighbors match their vote in the primary, we have a disconnect. And, I know the state party now is trying to give some training. We try to give training to delegates before every caucus. We've done it every year since I've been chair. It's getting people to show up to the training, and then how do we hold all these delegates accountable to what their position really requires of them? 1, get to know the candidates. 2, bring it back to the precinct to let them know why they're choosing who they choose, and choosing that. And then hopefully the convention vote will match the primary vote. And now we've mastered the system. But right now it's not matching. And again, we've got to get people engaged early on.
Well, what would you do if you found out that the primary election was a complete sham? What would you do if you found out that the results that were reported were a complete fraud, and that, say, for example, in my race that I won?
Did you say what would I do or what did I do? I think I misheard you there. Go on.
I mean, really,
I would ask for proof was what I would do. I would want to see it.
Yeah. So you can go and ask Grok, what's the statistical likelihood of a candidate with 50,000 vote lead and 64% of the vote in, and showing a 60-40 lead, to end up with a 37,000 vote lead and a 56 or 54 to 46 margin at the end? The likelihood of him losing that much ground with only 30% of the election to go is statistically 0. It's less than 1 in a billion. So I look at that and say that should be that's an irregularity. But and then if you ask AI or ask Grok this, you say, well, how could you figure that out? Oh, you'd need to look at the voter rolls. You'd need to look at the cast vote records. You'd need to look at all of these things that anybody else anywhere would say clearly. We need to take a look at this. You can't look at it in Utah. So yeah, I'm like you. I would ask for proof too. without the person who has the keys to the safe willing to let you look at that, then all you can do is say, statistically, this is a cheat, and prove me wrong, please. I'd like to be proven wrong. Let's just look at the data. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox again, and I probably do need to go, but yeah, it's really these things are not trivial. When someone says you can't look at any of the election data, the Republican Party can't look at the Republican primary election data. You can't verify it. How dare you even suggest that you should be able to? And I'm telling you.
But that's run by county clerks. Are you saying that the
No.
election was stolen?
Yes.
And would that be by county clerks, or would that be from the top? Like, I mean, I'm curious.
Statistically, and I said it on election night, there's 40,000 fake votes in here. On the initial drop, there's 40,000 fake votes.
And it wouldn't be county clerks. You could do that with 2 county clerks.
You could do it electronically, and that's what. And thank goodness again for Trump and Tulsi Gabbard. She came out last week and said, we've shown that you can manipulate the voting, the machines after the fact in a way that nobody observing would ever see that on the front end. Now, and I'm with you on this, Holly. If 90% of people you say this to would say, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And in the legislature, one of the legislators, when I brought these things to the committee, said, I've always felt like my vote counted. It's like, okay, as a CPA, that's fine. You can feel that way. You can take security. You can buy the narrative, or you can reconcile the bank statement. And in our situation, you can't reconcile this bank statement. No way. You can't look at it. I don't want anybody's personal data, but there's a serious problem with our elections. And yes, I believe.
Is it just Utah?
No. Oh no. No. This is why we have a lawsuit coming up on ERIC, the Electronic Records Information Center. And that's being picked up nationally. And something that we started. Same with the Judicial Watch announcement. That's an extension of the lawsuit that we started. And all these things are coming around, and people are saying, wait a second, you said that these election machines were not connected to the internet, but they are, and there's an algorithm, and you can flip votes, and you can do these things, all the stuff that crazy Mike Lindell said you could do.
Right.
They're finding out.
Well, 2020 made everybody on edge, and I am one that believes you should vote in person, or at least, I mean, there's a lot of things. Don't use the mail. Use drop boxes. But
I
this
guess
is
I'm just coming back to saying, well, if we had done this and this and this, maybe we could have won the primary election. It's like, oh no, we won the primary election. We won it. We won the convention. Spencer Cox didn't get his signatures. Then we won the primary election, a fraudulent primary election, and then we go and get the most write-in votes of anybody in American history in a clearly a failed.
And I want to also throw out, when you looked at that voting mailer they sent you, and there's 2 other Lymans on there, and they're mixed. I'm like, I'm looking at that. I'm like, what is going on here? That right there, I didn't lose trust in the government, because I don't know if you know this, Phil, but I've got zero trust in the government. No, I did at one time. I joined the Army. I was one of those boys who raised my hand, went and marched overseas, thought I'd be the hero, and then I recognized that we are all peasants, that they would stomp me into a bloody mud hole to get a dime. And I recognize that. Everyone else seems to be bought in, like the government cares about me, and they do not. They don't care about you. They care about the taxes they get from you once a year. But if those taxes don't outweigh the burden you are, they don't care about that. They'll do away with you in a heartbeat.
Okay, were you going to say something else?
But when I saw, I think he's froze, but when I saw the different Lyman names on that, I was like, oh, that was shady. And I don't care how it was done. I don't care if the governor was behind it or not. It was shady. And Phil is frozen right now. At least he froze on a handsome picture of himself. Yeah. He wasn't like in mid.
And I know he has a 720, so yeah, he's probably trying to go. Phil, if you can hear me, we're so grateful for your appearance tonight.
Yes,
and
100%.
we understand if you have to go. It's a great photo that you're left on.
It is. You take that one and use it, Phil, because that's a good photo. That is.
I don't know if the stream's even working. Okay.
Yeah, we might have lost him. Was he at the Capitol? Is that where he was?
No, he's doing a Book of Mormon thing. I'm not sure exactly the location, but I don't think he's at the Capitol. Folks, we did have to say goodbye to Phil, but if he's on all the socials, reach out to him if you have questions. Delegates are the ones who will decide if he becomes the state party chair. So it is state delegates who are obligated with this vote. But we
We'll
asked
have
him
him
to
on
come
again.
on, and he did. I did say that he could come on again before the convention if he likes, just
And
because
we'll
we had
have
such a short time with him.
We'll have Rob on. We'll have anyone running on. I don't care what party or what you're doing.
I absolutely want to get Rob on. He's been on before with
Yep.
other issues, but I think that he and Phil are the only two I know of that are in the state party race. I could be wrong. There's always a lot. These conventions, though, they're considered organizing conventions, and less people attend, less delegates attend this one. So I would encourage all state delegates to be there. And if you're a precinct chair, reach out to your delegates, make sure they can be in attendance. And if they can't, make sure you go to your alternates or reach out to your party leadership to let them know that you're lacking a delegate. As a precinct chair, it's your job to make sure and decide who fills that role. So it's got to be someone from your precinct, and that's so that every precinct gets represented and your party chairs aren't deciding for you who's going to fill that. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
This is great.
Yeah. Old Stevie says, it is our job to fight against these pirates. Nice remarks, Phil. And then he hearted said anti-party and a heart. I think that was directed at me. And then Matt Jones says, vote in person and require ID. Jordan Lott says he likes Phil's message on Tom Tomini. Likes Phil's message. And Tom Tomini has had a great message for the governor's race. Data is important. He said he should try to apply for a data entry job. And he met Tulsi Gabbard, and she is great. And he also agrees that last photo of Phil is a good photo.
Christy Nome just came out saying that real ID is going to be required in order to enter any federal building or an airport going forward. And I've heard that now a couple times. Real ID is where they verify you are who you are, and you get a special ID from the state and that you live in. It'll have a star on it. I haven't heard much about it in the Utah part, but in Texas, it's a thing. They automatically give it to you. And the truth is, hopefully, this takes us towards a voter roll. I'm not sure why it's not in every state.
I don't know, because it's the mark of the beast, maybe. But
no, I mean, why
real ID,
voter rolls and proof of voting and all that should be. It should be
real
a
ID has been
request.
A part of Utah since before it was a part of Texas. But that's it right there.
With the star, yeah.
Yeah, we've had real IDs in Utah for 15 years. I remember when they first started coming out. Old Mr. Jones, not Matthew, the Alex flavor. Come on, talked about how it's a mark of the beast, and
it's going to put you on a registry.
What it's going to do is gives them. We're already on registries, but what it's going to do is it's going to give them just more data of you that they control, that they can manipulate and sell, whatever.
But again, it would be nice to know who's in the country. So for everyone to go get it.
It doesn't matter. All it's got to do is.
Also nice that everyone in the country is required to show it when they vote, which I think is coming next. They'll require voter ID nationwide for federal votes.
The Democrats will either just let people flood in or they'll just give them real IDs. It doesn't matter.
Well, you're just a ray of sunshine today.
I'm just stating facts. Facts.
And
or we might have a flip and the Republicans will become the pro immigration party again, like they were only
The border
20
is
years ago.
closed, and I'm excited to see it. Now, recent news. Do you want to
Okay.
talk about the Maryland man?
Maryland man.
That's
we
what
can.
they're referring to him.
Ah,
Did you see that senator that went there? And
yeah. The Maryland senator,
senator.
the Baltimore senator, Van Hollen.
Don't care.
He's had a name like, I think that's his name.
Talk
Van-
about grandstanding. They would have told him on the phone, look, there's nothing you can do. It's not like they're going to send him home with you.
Someone was saying that he might have breached the Logan Act with that. I don't know. I don't know. Don't care.
Jared is for the facts.
Yeah. I don't know. I look, is the guy apparently wasn't here legally, but he was on a stay of deportation, but he got rounded up in a MS-13 raid.
He had bills on
Can
him.
the stay of deportation be breached by the State Department? I don't know. I don't know. I say
more facts have come out.
I say send it to the courts. Let the courts completely deal with it. Have two parties stand. He's not in the prison right now. He's free down there. Let the courts completely deal with it. And if they were found they did wrong, let's have Marco Rubio come out and say, "I'm sorry," and then leave his happy butt down there because again, he's still illegal.
I think they did come out and say there was a mistake. They did admit there was a mistake when they took him.
Said, "I'm sorry,"
but he's still illegal. He's still a criminal, a member of the MS-13. They've proven that. And then there was a case brought against him, a domestic violence case against his current girlfriend or wife, that she dropped the charges, but he had choked her or something, and she dropped the charges. So this guy, the media is trying to make it look like he's this innocent victim and all this other stuff. We voted for Trump and the mandate came with him.
Was he the gay hairdresser that they talked about?
No.
So where did that one go? That one just disappeared. Was he found out to be like a mass murderer or something? It just disappeared.
Idea.
The left forgot all about him. Maybe they had someone new. Jordan Lott says, I'm still trying to figure out the YouTube algorithm. That algorithm is tricky. When you figure it out, Jordan, please come see us.
Well, comments always help the algorithm, and even if they're hateful, which calling out our regular troll, even his comment helps.
Gave up on us.
It's too bad.
If you guys got something in the news you want to talk about, let us know. Heck, I'll bring you on, let you talk to us about it. The news is flying fast right now. You've got that stabbing down at that Texas high school.
Oh yeah, that's sad. Have you seen how much money's been raised for the suspect?
It's just like Rittenhouse was when it's on this culture war project. You're going to see numbers raised because everyone feels a threat. The black community feels a threat. The white community feels a threat. And I don't know. Did you see? No, here's the best.
Well, you heard him when he was arrested. They said, this is our alleged stabber. Yeah. And he goes, it's not alleged. I stabbed him.
Yeah. But he's claiming he did it in self-defense.
Right.
And there's money being raised. But Rittenhouse, there's a lot of money being raised there. So I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with that. Tim Pool thinks he's going to get acquitted. Some other people think he's cooked. I don't know.
You know, the father of the victim forgave him like almost immediately.
Well, the best part was
so sad.
The father of the victim got thrown out of a press conference, which is funny because he stabbed the other guy because he was throwing him out of a tent. It's just the irony is sweet.
A tent he didn't belong in. Where all their private stuff was, their wallets and all their stuff. And he was from a different high school and didn't belong there at all. And these are just the details trickling out. And I mean, it's absolutely it's absolutely sad for both families involved. But his family just moved into a new house in a gated community and bought a brand new car, and this money is really coming to help them
Okay,
out.
they did not buy a brand new car. That's come out. That was false. Nor did they move into
They're
a new
renting
house.
it.
Well, they actually moved down in house. They had to move because they got doxxed. So
Well, I thought-
all that is fake
But
information.
what I just saw is they're renting a house, $3,500 a month.
Okay, but they went from a $3,800 a month house to a $35,000. They were renting a house that was actually bigger, but they got doxxed, so they moved. This information has came out.
Because the dad was saying
And-
before that they were poor and they
No.
couldn't take care of the
No, and then
legal fees.
the Escalade they've had it for 6 months prior to the incident happening. So that's all just people, boiling over. It's fine. And let's face it, we have I don't know if I'd call it racism, but I would call it people are feeling insecure between the races. And I would argue that is Barack Obama's fault. Because prior to that, I remember when I was in high school, when I was in the Army, and after I got out of the Army, there wasn't this what felt like a race war. And there's been a race war ever since Obama's
Oh yeah, BLM was invented under
his
Obama.
third year.
Antifa under Obama. Hands up, don't shoot. Trayvon Martin.
Well, Antifa technically was born under Bush. That's when Antifa first showed up. But the original Antifa is from Europe. Antifa over here came in under Bush. Back then, they mostly went against the G20.
The
It
hands
was
up,
funny.
don't shoot whole thing and the Trayvon Martin
Yep,
thing.
that was under-
Obama stirred it right out of the gate with the James Crowley officer. I'll never forget, who was arresting the guy they thought was breaking into a house because a neighbor said there's a guy breaking into the neighbor's house, the professor.
Mhm.
And then they had the beer summit at the White House to settle things. But I think that the race war was
Obama
started
kicked off
under Obama.
No, it definitely was. He kicked it off. I don't know if he meant to, but he kicked off. Maybe he meant to. I happen to think Obama's like a undercover communist. I mean, look at all of his heroes and his
Undercover?
mentors and his father. And I think he got in there and did what he wanted to do, and he did it slightly, but it only took a little push, and now it's splitting between urban and rural, and it's getting ugly. And then
It's because division makes money for
and there are
all parties.
there are some facts, and until we can vocally and honestly recognize these facts on the world stage, it's going to continue like this. We've got Rachel Dolezal. She does that cameo stuff. So Rachel Dolezal, remember who she was?
Is she the black woman?
No, she's the white woman who
Well-
rattle canned herself darker and then became the head of the NAACP, like in Portland or
You
something.
cannot make this stuff up.
Dude, we live in it's a comedy.
Even her parents are like, what?
But anyways, but her parents made her that way because they adopted a lot of black kids and they were far leftists. So they treated the black kids they adopted better than her. So she hated her. Anyways, it's a sad story. But
As you laugh all the way through it.
somebody, she's on OnlyFans and Cameo. She's digging around making her money.
Rachel Dolezal is on OnlyFans?
Yeah. Everyone's on OnlyFans. I'll have one next week, guys. I'll forward the link. Anyways.
Not everyone.
So she's on Cameo, and that's where you pay and someone makes like a voice message for you.
Oh, what does she charge?
I don't know. I didn't look that up. But what they had her say was it's like, congratulations to the team that, you guys got your sales done, but we really know it's 30% of you got 60% of the sales. And someone had her speak race realism, and I was on the ground rolling. She didn't know what she was talking about. And
You got to be more. I don't know what you're talking about.
okay.
So 30% of you got 60% of the sales?
30% of the population is black.
Right.
And
Isn't it 13%?
13. What? No, it's like, I think it's, well, whatever,
I think it's
13%.
13%.
And they commit, over 50% of the crime. And then you've got to further break that down that
Okay, so they had her do basically a funny joke
They had
to
her
a business so you're in a private joke to yourself. I get it now. So
she didn't know. And whoever did that,
probably cost him $10.
fantastic. It was off the hook. But anyways,
Who's S-Bar?
S Bar 10 says, I joined the Republican Party after voting for Trump in 2016. Didn't want to run for precinct positions in 2024, but felt it was a good way to help Phil. Transparency is key. Then it has to be Phil. And I agree. You know what? I think Phil right now, where that's his goal, I think he'd definitely be a good bet. I feel like I'm personal friends with Rob. I like Rob a lot. And Rob had a goal of, whatever his goal was. But I think right now we need to have a goal of exposure and bringing honesty into our government and our elected officials. They're showing that in Washington, D.C. right now. You've got to shake the boat. I swear right now I'm at the point, and I'm an independent. I'm at the point I'm not voting incumbent again. I'm done voting incumbent.
Well, and I think to say that Rob doesn't do that, he does. There's only so much data you can get, though, as we're learning.
If Rob is the party
think
chair,
Rob has been fantastic
and someone
as a party chair,
and someone can dole out information, if that is true, what Phil said, Rob should have found out who did that, drag them to the floor, and abuse them in front of the whole party.
Well, I'd like to know who it is.
Yes.
That would help, because then I would know if it's a party.
Who knows? Maybe Phil's incorrect about it.
Or if it's somebody who dislikes the party, because I know of a person who's got all that data.
Don't care. Then why do they get the data?
Because he gets it other ways.
Doesn't it sound like you could probably
and
bring
he's not a member,
some
he's not
kind
a
of lawsuit
representative
against them?
of the party. He's got $1 million, this
Does he
person I
have
know.
to? Does he have to be a member of the party to bring a lawsuit if someone's playing that
But what
game?
I'm saying, he's not a representative of the party. And so he does a private business out of getting data to these people. But
Then
he's
it sounds to me
under
like the
umbrella
Republican
of our party.
The Republican Party should become his number one customer.
Well, that's the problem. Is they've had, there's just a long history with him.
Well, anyways, either way,
good.
I would figure out how to deal with that. But so yeah, we've got that. We got the murder in Texas.
There's a murder in Maryland of a young girl, a mother of 5, that was killed by an illegal, severely beaten, crushed her complete skull. The mother was in fact, she called out the senator or the representative, I don't know if he was a senator, from Maryland, and said, "How dare you go fight on behalf of this man? Why aren't you fighting on behalf of our daughters and mothers and sisters who are dealing with this type of attack?" It was brutal.
Yeah, I think the senator's name is Van Halen. Seriously, if you're voting Democrat, we can say it again. Joe Rogan brought it back. You're a retard. Done. Thomas from Germany says, "Happy Easter to you all."
Hi, Thomas.
Yes. We have to celebrate last weekend our 10th anniversary of Liberland. Yes, 10th anniversary of Liberland. Still semi under siege almost half the time.
Who's under siege? Who's it under siege by?
It's at Croatia or you have to remind me, Thomas. I could just look at a map.
Or David.
Thomas, I want you to come on the show. I want to chat with you. I want to find out what's going on with this European politics. Europe is the one they're showing us what's up. They are straight up just making laws that you can't run. Straight up. They've got that French lady. They've got the German dude. What is going on with that? Europe is going crazy. But
what? Like
they can
EU?
In Europe. You know why they can? Because y'all let them disarm you. Y'all let them take away your guns. That's where you lost. You got to fight those back first. I will.
What's in that can over there?
This is
Is
some
it
beer.
an energy drink?
No, no, it's a West
Do
Coast stuff.
less. Do less. You seem like you're like hyped
I'm
up
fired
to
up, and
do
it's
more.
warm in here. Does it feel warm
It's warm
in
in
here?
here. Yes.
It's warm in
Is
here.
the window open?
No, it is not.
Oh, let me.
Yeah.
Sir.
I will allow her to.
Your do less is making you do
this
more.
has a good buzz to it. Anyways, no, I do want you. Okay. He says between Croatia and Serbia. But yeah, Thomas, can we get you to come on? Tell us. Thomas is in Germany. Tell us your feeling.
Locked.
Might be. I don't know. Tell us your feeling about what is going on in Europe. I mean, Eastern Europe's still holding it together a little bit, but Western Europe is done. Life is Driving says, someone get Jared a Fidel Castro hat to complete the look. You know, I've got my old service hat downstairs. It's squared off. Zelensky.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Vladimir.
have a beard.
Oh, I was thinking of
He's
the
talking
all black.
Fidel. I need to get me a cigar, flat brimmed hat, wear me some green dungaree jacket. Heck yeah, I like it. Of course, the CIA might get confused and send hookers after me to try to kill me. That'd be awful. Anyways, yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to keep growing the beard or not.
I don't know if you
Debating it.
even need me on the show with you. You're animated. You're wide awake. This is a nice look. Have you had the week off?
I have had the week off.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're rested. Look at you.
Yeah.
All this pent up energy. My goodness.
Thomas says, let's make a date for our host. He says it's horrible in Germany. Thomas, all right, here's the deal. Holly's not going to be here next week. She's got a hot date with someone. I don't know what's going on. Michael's taking her somewhere. I don't know. But so,
Yeah.
Thomas, if you're free, come on next week. I'll shoot you the link.
Yeah, we need a guest host.
On Friday, I'll shoot you the link, and maybe we'll try to get Dave on at the same time. That'd be a good chat. And Dave's got some stuff to talk about when he comes on. Don't know if I can announce it here yet. I'll check with Dave. He'll tell me when and
Well, Dave,
we
if
can.
you're in the comments, you're going to be on. Is he going to be joining you next week?
I hope so.
It will be just like old times.
Yeah, that'd be great to have Thomas on too to hear. I want to hear about what is going on in Europe. Western Europe. Someone called it a museum. I can't remember who called it that. They said Western Europe is a museum of the greatness of man.
It's
Everything they did up until the First World War, they expressed the greatness and what man can do. And then those two world wars happened in a 40-year period, and they just said, that's it. We quit. We'll go socialist. No one will try to earn. We'll have our car markets will be
They're
built
utopia.
in India or Mexico or South America, and we'll just and they quit. And Eastern Europe, at that time was still fighting their way out of communism. So they're young and vibrant. And so you got Poland and Hungary and all those countries that are earning their way out. And yes, Ukraine is a part of that. Yes, Ukraine has a whole bunch of corruption, but we've got to see where these countries go from that, because they've experienced the worst that government has to offer. We'll have to see. All right. Thomas says, illegal immigration in Germany. Heavy. It's heavy all over Europe. Heavy. Ireland right now. Ireland is being overrun. Conor McGregor's fitting to get himself thrown in jail to try another one. He wants to run for president of Ireland. I guess they live in a White House too. Someone told me. Anyway,
Really?
It's called the White House. I guess it's a tiny little thing in a park. But
Europe is a window to our future. 5 to 10 years from now, Democrats would.
no,
I've heard
Adam
that.
says that, but no, it is
I've
not.
heard
And you know
that.
why it's not? Not for me. Because either through my hard work, we retain our weapons,
Two-way.
or you guys bury me. You guys pick, or I'll do my best to select my
That's
outcome.
it, though. The second our government
weapons.
decides to take your guns, you know what the next step
You
is.
must stay armed, and you've got to
So
stay
that's
armed
our
freely.
number one rule. You have to have the First Amendment rights absolute. You
Yep.
have to, but Second Amendment ensures that you keep the First Amendment. And
Yep.
so,
and it can't be one of those rights where I got to go down and fellatio a police officer and then fill out paperwork
Right,
and go do
settle
this
down.
and go do that. No, it's got to be, I go down, I want it, I get it, as long as I'm not a convicted criminal.
or
He says,
severely mentally ill.
what's that?
Or severely mentally ill. Because that right there, guys, is a huge problem in America. We have to figure out how to get our mentally ill neighbors and friends and family in a safe institution again. We have to figure something out. There's
Mhm.
so many mentally ill in the world, rampant in this country, that are committing crimes just left and right and hurting people.
I know.
And we
And
need
it's-
to address it.
It's almost all of it is inner city youth who don't have a father, or kids who grew up with a mother that for their own social status turned them into transgenders.
Or it's kids who grow up in with abuse in their lives and from a young age. It's so
You're just
much
repeating what I just said.
people who are parents who are supporting one of their children who may be transgender. They didn't abuse their children. I know
I
many.
would honestly say that most of the time the parents drove them to that either by neglect or.
I disagree.
But, hey,
I know
that's my
great
opinion.
families who,
And I'm wrong all the time.
I think it's society and culture that did it. Not all
Okay.
families have driven their child to that.
Thomas says nobody understands that Trump is a peacemaker. I have the feeling that's that the West wants the war. Nobody understands the Trump tariffs. Yeah, the Trump tariffs, that's a big one. I don't know if I understand them or not, but so far I think it's important to let it play out. I say
they're a negotiating tool. Let's see how it goes.
Oh, here's a good one.
But the EU, the leader of the EU, has now talked to Trump and has agreed to the tariffs. She's talking to him, but then she goes back to the EU and makes it sound like they're tough on this, but they are at the table. So I also know that they've been visiting China, or at least having meetings. So we are at a trade war with China in a sense. And I don't know what the end result is supposed to be. I would love it if the end result is free trade across the board. That would be ideal. I think Trump wants tariffs. I don't think free trade is his end game, because I think he wants tariffs to kind of pick up where income tax is and eventually get the country wealthier and our production is worth something. Because if you went to free trade, then why would any company feel obligated to come here and produce product?
We have to destroy the size of government before we can do anything with tariffs.
He wants the companies to come here. I think his goal is to build manufacturing. But when you look at what it costs to do manufacturing in America, it's about $25 per. If you look at costs in China, it's like $5 per. If you look in Cambodia or other countries, it's 30 cents. So manufacturing, even for the most well-intentioned, are having a hard time considering manufacturing here in the United States. Those statistics are highly important when considering what Trump's outcome is going to be. The tariffs were used as a negotiating tool, and we all knew that. But I think a lot of us are not sure what the end game looks like. If China were to come to the table and say, fine, zero tariffs, I think that still should never prohibit United States from having their own manufacturing of drugs, having their own manufacturing of, we should be drilling and we should be selling our energy around the world after we've supplied our own nation. Absolutely. I do think that should be going forward. America should be the standard for energy, and we should be selling it to our allies at a great price so that Germany and the rest of Europe have the gas they need, petrol. It's just these tariffs have got the market kind of shaky. There's exceptions for China or for certain products not being tariffed. I just think it's kind of confusing and everybody's kind of trying to figure it out. But I voted for Trump to handle negotiations like this. I'm going to wait and see what exactly comes from it before I freak out. I'm just not. Jordan says, did you hear that a Georgia man threatened Tulsi Gabbard and her husband's life? The political violence on both sides are crazy right now. That's true. And in Texas, the Democrats are making it sound like she was trying to do voter fraud by having her homestead located in a Texas address.
I did
and
not
actually,
hear.
The truth is that she purchased the property because she was doxxed in Hawaii. And in Texas, she can keep her address private, but there still doesn't stop her from being. She's had death threats for a while since she left the Democrat
armed.
Party.
Yeah, I had not heard that. Georgia man, huh? Crazy person. Is he? See,
I think he was a young man. Isn't that right, Jordan?
Has there been heavy political
and he
violence?
Threatened Trump's life too.
Has there been heavy political violence from the Republican side or the MAGA side right now?
Not that I've seen.
Not that I know of. Well, hold on. I just got to get
will just say January 6th. That's what their answer is.
Yeah, that's been 4 years. I'm talking recent. Matt Jones says, Scheme, what's your everyday carry, assuming you feel comfortable disclosing? Sorry, off topic, but I didn't get to ask when we did the podcast about training. First of all, Matt, I want to see you in my training one time. Give me a call. We'll line something up. Okay. Right now, my ADC is a Smith & Wesson Shield or M&P 2.0. I also have a Shield 2.0, totally different guns. Names are kind of the same. One's a little skinny number that you can hide under a dress or something. The other one's
dresses.
Heck yeah, I do. I believe they call them full body kilts. And then, but the one I every day carry, the one that's in my bedside, is a full size, 9mm packing 18 rounds. I'm gonna also. I accessorize quite a bit. So sometimes I'll roll out to a Canic or the Glock or the Hellcat or, a couple different. I like to take time and train with one and really work with one for about a year. I'll usually, roll into, I've got different sizes. I like to train with them. I like to switch it up. Just kind of, I feel like it kind of hones me a little bit.
Do you have a holster that you wear outward, or you conceal? Like, what kind of conceal it? Like,
I wear it inside the waistband holster. Yeah, I've got a couple
that's
different.
Beauty for men. They can do that. It's not as easy for women to do that.
It is not. It is not. You have to make choices. There's a young lady. I'll turn you on to her YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and she's all about. She wears what is it, Philston Enigma rig, and she wears it under skirts. It's an appendix style carry. It's just a little lower. She wears it under skirts with pants. She wears it all the time. And her whole show that she does is all about.
Send that link to me.
Yeah, is all
is
about.
Is she a thin woman who likes to wear tight clothes?
She does. She wears lady clothes. I don't know. She's average size.
Lady clothes,
like skirts and dresses and yoga pants and things like that.
Excellent. Yeah, send me that.
Yeah.
Did you have another comment?
Jordan says he thinks he was a Muslim man, that guy in Georgia.
I think so. I think he's young too. And have you guys seen the development in Texas? The Muslim community development they're doing? And they've outwardly said it's going to be Muslim only, and the way they're keeping Christians and other out is the HOA fee. They tell them straight up 75% of your HOA fee goes to fund the mosque.
It's your jizya.
It's like a full community.
It's their jizya. Hey, that's
no alcohol.
You know what?
No,
I say let's give them a try. Let's see how they do. Might be prosperous down there.
Government's watching them. I think just for trying to keep people out. I know what they do when Christians do that, and they create compounds of
Christians
sorts.
are the bad guys.
Right. So
Thomas says, watch my Liberland press on WhatsApp. Thomas, I've found you on WhatsApp, and I've tried. I need you to educate me and bring me into your Liberland press. And everyone else watch it. Liberland's an excellent thing. It's modern day expression and freedom, especially as we're moving forward into this more technological world. Who knows where it goes? Supporting Liberland, I think, is 100% positive thing.
Liberland is a real place, and it's a country, is what he's getting at, for those that don't know. And they have a Second Amendment there in their Constitution.
Yeah.
Is their Constitution voted on, and they have how many members that live there?
Well, I don't know. Who
you too
lives
could
there
be
right
a member
now.
of Liberland if you wanted to buy property
When
there.
Thomas comes on, we'll try to get him on over the next 2 weeks. If he's ready this upcoming next Friday, we'll have him on then. If not, I'll try to push for the one after. Matt Jones says, nice. I'll come train anytime. Have you tried the SIG P365 XL? Yes, I have. I'm a fan of the 365. It's a decent weapon system. It really is. The 320. I own one, and I'm
You
deathly
own
afraid
one.
of it.
You own everything.
I'm deathly afraid of it. That gun, I wish I wouldn't have bought it.
Really?
Yeah, it's the gun that keeps getting lawsuits because it goes off in holsters.
I see.
Yeah, it's a scary.
But
scary
has it
gun.
done that to you?
I haven't put it in a holster.
Okay.
It's accurate. I've shot it on the line. I will walk up, load it on the table, shoot it, dead accurate.
And
make
so
sure
you
it's
guys
dry.
have a training coming up with
Yes, we do.
Shield Maidens.
Yes, we do. Next Saturday, Sunday. Lots of slots are open. So it's Shield Maiden Tactical. So, Matt, if you're ready, next weekend, sign up for this training. Give Mallory a call. It's $300, but if you mention this show, it's $275. So give Mallory a call. Come to the training. It's 20-hour. Be ready for that.
That is such a good price because you're basically paying like $12 an hour or something, $15 an hour, and you get a number of great trainers and great information and hands-on experience. It's day and night learning in those circumstances, and it's just worth every penny. You will not find training at this price, especially training where you get almost one-on-one with each, well, you do with each gun trainer. Essentially, while you're at the line, somebody is helping you and teaching you both as a group and then singly. It's so worth it. I cannot say enough good about it.
I know most other trainings at this level with this curricula is on average about a $900 course is probably your basic you'll find. But before we let go, I want to talk about, did you hear about this? Let me see if I can remember. There's a young lady out of New York, right? And she's kind of getting in trouble because she lied about purchasing property. This young lady, maybe she's not that young. This lady out of New York, she lied about purchasing property. Her job requires her to live in New York, but she was buying property in Virginia. So that was one lie. And she listed herself as living in Virginia. So there's a lie.
You're not talking about the DA in New York, are you?
I don't know. Her name's Letitia James,
oh my
this young lady.
Goodness.
And then she lied on how big the property was. So she could get a better rate.
She told the bank that it was worth more than it was worth so that she could get a loan.
And she was doing this like a year and a half ago.
Wow.
It's craziness, right?
Of all the names, Letitia James.
Of all the names, it's almost like
you're accused of doing something the other person's actually doing.
It's like you're staring in a mirror. It is wild times right now. Can you believe that? Miss James, do you hear she bought a house? Like previously, she bought a house and her father co-signed on it. But so she got a better rate. She listed him as her husband.
Oh, come on. How do you dare publicly go after someone when you've got all these skeletons in your closet? She was absolutely sure that Trump wouldn't win. And you know what? She's up for re-election right now, and she's hosting fundraiser dinners where tickets are 35 grand a piece. And it's like, I would look into her election. I would look into her funding for elections too. That's probably funded these houses. As a DA, you make great money, and maybe in New York you make great money, but you don't make multiple house money. She is such a
I love it. I don't know. I love it. I love it.
ridiculous human.
Dude, we live. This is better than fiction.
Oh, you can't. Yeah, you can
Better
make it
than
up.
fiction. This is phenomenal. So Thomas says,
Oh, hi,
we like
Christy.
we like Liberland need feed rate worldwide. That's best when the import and the export is balanced. Only in view. Now, remember, Thomas is German, so we may have to do a little bit of grammar assistance here, but only in view of the economic situation that the Biden administration has left behind, in view of the threat of de-dollarization from China and the Emirates, does the U.S. need the trades balanced and the tariffs? China and the EU have not pursued a fair trade policy. It looks like a trade war at the moment, but I don't believe in it. China and the USA are very dependent on each other, and Trump is getting his deal. And he's 100%.
You just said you would have to translate. I thought that was excellent
very
English
clear.
and grammar.
It was
Well
very
done,
clear.
Thomas.
I was just worried about maybe it's me we have to translate for. No, he's 100% correct. We are dependent on other countries as a manufacturer base right now, and we learned that was some holes in the way our
safety.
economy runs, and things do need to change. We do need to have some equilibrium come between the business owner class and the labor class, so we can move some businesses back here. And China's on the way up. China's going to be moving out of this section anyway. They're going to be moving towards a section like one we're in, and India is coming in right behind them. Vietnam, Cambodia, those places, they're all moving right in behind them.
India, Cambodia, and those places are making the deal with Trump, whereas China's adamant
They are,
will
but this
not.
I'm talking about a bigger idea than just this moment we're in with Trump.
Because right now, the United States economy or consumer is sought after by every nation in the world.
But
we have the highest consumer.
What I'm
purchase.
talking about is a bigger idea than that. I'm talking about a longer plan than just the next 4 years or 3.5 years. China is moving into the consumerist model economy, such as we moved into in the 70s. And behind them, they've got that building group that's coming up behind them. That is the Southeast Asia. Now,
how do they successfully do that as a communist
it's just
country?
It's a natural thing that happens. It
because
just happens.
They can demand who does what when.
They're a mixed economy. They're not communist anymore. They're a mixed totalitarian economy.
Oh man. You tell that to a Chinese resident, they're still under rule. They choose who gets to
Did I not
businesses.
just say totalitarian?
No.
But they're in a mixed economy because private people can start and run business. Matter of fact, it's easier to start and run a business in China
as
than
long
it
as
is
you're
here.
granted permission from the CCP.
Sure, than it is here. But even if you're not granted, pretty much anyone can right now because that's their model, how they enrich their country. Xi Jinping, actually, it was what was the guy's name before Xi Jinping? Was the guy who lined this out. That's where they're at.
Right. They went
that's
off
their
Japan's model and actually figured it out through Japan.
And
kind of made it match theirs. And their number one thing was Japan said, how many banks do you have? And China only had one bank. And he's like, you need thousands of banks. You need to have every bank you need to have thousands of banks giving loans to little people all around your country. And America, we used to have 14,000 banks. Now we have like 4,000 banks
Mm-hmm.
because we've gotten away from that. The banks don't want to loan $300,000 loans to people. They're looking for big, huge $1 million deals. And they've lessened and lessened your local credit unions. That's where you should be getting your loans. It's more
Well-
liability. And we're falling away from the very market that made us so great.
We're following. Now, here's where Adam, Life is Driving, is correct when he said Europe is a window into our future 5 to 10 years from now. We are moving. Europe did this same thing. They lost their heart during the world wars. They lost their vibrancy. They gave up. They had to lean into socialism. They had to lean into these things
Cultural crazy.
because they got destroyed. Right?
They didn't have a Donald Trump.
No, well, also
now
they
we have a
also they
Donald
had
Trump.
they had a pretty unfair world stage where the number one manufacturing economy before the wars was vibrant. The wars came, they were number 2, 3, 4, and 5. The wars came and dropped them all.
What, China was like 6th.
China
in the
wasn't
70s.
even on the map then.
Oh,
China didn't
I'm
show up on the
talking
map until the
70s
80s.
and 80s, and then
No, I'm talking about Europe right now.
gotcha.
We're trying to head that way, and it's because we became decadent and lazy, and everyone wants their free handouts, and everyone wants their this and that. And so as we move that way, the business owner class starts getting greedy, and they want more of whatever's made. And so they don't like the idea of paying people. It's easier if you're a business owner class, it's easier to own a shop that just sells stuff and have 2 employees than to own a manufacturing business and have 300 employees to make it. It's easier if you push that making it over to China, where
It's cheaper too.
it's
You
slave
get a higher
labor.
profit margin.
Yeah, and yeah, it's cheaper to ship it across the world. Well, we've got to make a decision in us to say, you know what? I'm going to be more selective about when I buy. I'm going to be, I'm going to be more controlled in the trinkets. I'm going to try to find.
The American consumer is addicted to the
Sure.
cheap, easy to get stuff. We're all guilty
But it's not
of
just
it.
that they're addicted to it. They have to be. That's all they can afford.
Right.
We haven't had an on par raise for labor since the late 70s, early 80s. That's just a fact.
That's our whole life.
Yeah. The business class has had an on par raise every year since then, including the years of recession.
And the government bureaucrat
employee, let's not even talk about
they
them.
get raises too. You know what's crazy? Have you ever been to every man's treasures?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called? Any man's treasure?
Another
man's treasure. So Another Man's Treasure is located here in Tooele. It's on Main Street.
It's like a curio
And
thrift shop.
It's basically an antique shop.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and I were stopping in there. My friend Ty owns it, and he's a phenomenal citizen of this county. He does such great works. But I stopped in there, looked around. In fact, tomorrow you can go to the Ritz Theater. I just thought of this, but they're doing a antique roadshow. So if you have antiques, go to the Ritz Theater on Main and take it in, and they'll have someone evaluate it for you, just like the roadshow. It's on my calendar because there's a couple of things in my dad's.
Oh, yeah. And we've got to go through all of our advertisements.
But I wanted to say, while I was in there with my mom, I saw this refrigerator that had to have been made in the 60s or 50s. You know, those old ones that are, you have a top door and a bottom door, but they're like this tall, they're shorter.
Mm-hmm.
The thing still works.
Uh-huh.
And I said to my mom, isn't it amazing? You can go to antique stores and buy appliances from back then.
Who was it made by?
I don't recall. I didn't remember looking.
You
but I
find
was
me
like,
an International Harvester
you
fridge
could
and I'm
go
running.
find it, and it still works. And it's big, it's small, it probably takes more energy or whatever. Because that's how it used to be manufactured in America, with the requirements and standard that it would last you forever. And if it broke, you could fix it.
Mm-hmm.
We went from that mentality to whatever's cheapest, Have it for 5 years, replace it.
Well, do you remember
Cheaper
what
to
the
replace than to fix.
do you remember what the corner pocket used to be in the 90s?
No, I don't know what that is.
It's a bar here in town, but it used to be a cobbler.
Crazy.
And every time I came home on leave, I'd bring a couple pair of my boots
Yeah.
and have him resole them.
My husband had my shoes resold once. I didn't even know we even had that
I
business
used
around.
to,
That
I
was
used
20
to have
years
it
ago.
done. Might have been him. It was, I think, an old Greek guy. But I used to have it done about every 6
It's
months.
like a dying profession, a dead profession.
Dead. Yeah, it's dead.
Wow. Well, we are wrapping up.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Mosquito Shield because they were out here in the county, and I was so happy. Their clients are happy. Mosquito Shield. I will share the ad on our page, but if you've got mosquitoes in your backyard and they are a pain in the butt, like it is in Stansbury Park, now is the time to get the treatment for that. And it's great price. Mention this show when you talk to Dustin, and he'll give you an awesome deal. Also, if you are in the vehicle shopping for a vehicle, now is a great time to go to Nissan, Ken Garf Nissan downtown. Ask for Michael or Sam and tell them that Holly and Jared sent you, or Political Head Trauma, and they will write your deal up with your employee discount as a gift to us, to you, from us to you. They're doing it in honor of Political Head Trauma and the support. They have all brand new Nissans, and they also have all different kinds of used cars. But Nissan is their specialty. Ken Garf, I just had my truck break down on me last week, and it was just some little thing on the sensor. I have
Did
the
it
best
break
warranty.
or?
Well, I had to have it towed.
Oh, sure.
I have purchasing my truck. I've owned it almost 4 years, but I just purchased it out of a lease.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Well, when I purchased it, I have the extended warranty, which I know and I'm settled, but they also have roadside assistance that comes with it. I get service with it. So they picked it up, brought it in. The Ken Garf service, the guy takes a video underneath my truck showing me, here's your tires and brakes. They look fantastic. And just walked me through, found the problem, showed me the problem in the sensors. He said, of course, it's all covered under your warranty. We'll have the part here tomorrow and you can pick it up. I've never had that happen where somebody walks me through the service and shows me under my truck and shows me all this stuff. And I've had to have vehicles fixed in the past, and it is not an easy experience. I was so impressed with Ken Garf's experience. And honestly, there's probably a recall part that it was. I didn't read all the paperwork because it was fixed. I went and picked it up. Great, signed my truck out. But it was just one little thing. But it scared me to death. I thought I had a transmission or something go out. And these sensors, they can do weird things. We're so addicted to sensors on new vehicles. But thankfully, they figured it out. They fixed it, and I have it back. And I cannot recommend their service center to get oil changes. My mom goes and gets oil changes every 3,000 miles. My truck every 5,000. They are so particular and so great with their customer service that I cannot give them enough stars. So check out Ken Garf Nissan downtown. Ask for Michael or Sam and tell them you saw the show and you're in the market for a car. And even if you're just shopping, price them out because they will beat other dealership prices.
Mm-hmm. Thomas says when he comes on, he wants to talk about Liberland, EU dictatorship. Without Hungary, Slovakia, and Italy, Maloney does a great job. The Ukraine conflict. So this is all kind of a preview of what we will chat about in the next couple of weeks. Illegal migration in Germany. Every day in Germany,
it's rampant there.
The grapes by illegal migrants, 1,664. Knife attacks.
And grapes. By grapes, you mean the other?
Yeah.
SA.
Yep. A lot of Germans say they need a Trump and a J.D. Vance, or maybe they need a Thomas George Pullman.
That's it,
Seriously.
Thomas. Like my family is in Germany, and they say that women are not safe. They're not safe.
They're not.
And
And
it is migrants that are coming in where they come from a culture where women are property. So they don't respect women. They think SA is normal. And there's so much immigration in Europe, especially Germany, especially the UK, everywhere.
How are you Western European countries going to get your country back? First of all, Thomas says he wants to wish everyone a happy, peaceful Easter and all that love stuff. But Germany, England, Ireland, how are you guys going to get your countries back? That's my question. How? I want you to picture how bloody it's going to have to be once there are places in, like, I guess London is no-go zone. How do you get that back? Do you have to fight a war now to get it back? Is it going to have to be a reconquista? There's an ugly word. There's a word that probably had a lot of buttholes slapped shut. But is it going to be that?
I didn't experience that, but I was wondering, what does that mean?
Reconquista is when they took Spain back from the Muslims and, in the, gosh, what was it? Took them 400 years. I think they finally got it back in the late 1300s. And that's what set Spain up to be those brutal conquerors that took over the Americas and were so violent and brutal then. But are you going to have that? Is that going to be the fight? And why is it that your leadership seems like they want you to have that? They want to subvert their population for a population that's a little more brutal and violent.
I think it's terrifying.
Maybe a population that inbreeds a little more and has a little more of those. Or is it just that they want
population? Look at it. Their people are terrified in these other countries.
They have to be. They have to be disarmed.
Their home country. They're watching their home country be taken over.
I know.
And not just that, but these people are getting into government.
How do you
and
get
they're
it back?
making laws. And how do you have to get your gun rights back for one.
Watch the video of the mayor of Brighton. I watched that last week. I laughed. And then I was like, man, thank God my forefathers that were English left. Thank God. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. One, you can disarm me. You can, there'll be a fancy funeral afterwards, but that's the only way I'm letting you disarm me. And I do my damnedest to get other people around me. And I don't care what your political views are. I do my damnedest to get people around me armed. I want everybody who's sane and who is not a dirtbag to be armed.
That's the ticket, right? Being armed and protecting yourself and your neighbors should not be political.
Yep.
Not at all.
Yep.
Even Democrats want to protect their families, and there shouldn't be this taboo aura over wanting to own a firearm for that reason. And Democrats should want it just as bad as Republicans.
Yep.
Because let's play in the political field. Let's play the game of this back and forth politics. But your life, your country, the lives of your people you love, that should never, ever be held up as a political issue.
And if you're unfamiliar with weapons, I've said this before, give me a call. I'll go out one-on-one with you. We'll take some time.
I don't want you to go one-on-one. It
Why?
didn't work well with Chris Kyle.
That's okay. I'll go one-on-one with you. We'll get you up and get you up to snuff, make it to where then you'll be a person with the knowledge to decide if you want to join the free. Also,
not only the knowledge, but the confidence.
But first we want to go with the knowledge.
You can do it safely and that you can feel comfortable doing it. That's key.
But what I mean about the knowledge is you'll have enough knowledge of it to decide if this is a path you want to pursue. Also, big shout out to Dave. Dave went and built us a website. It's politicalheadtrauma.com. Go check it out. Dave is
the best.
did an awesome job on that. And we will throw all our advertisers up on there and everything else.
Yes, please reach out to us if you have a business that you would like us to talk about. And
Yes.
we'd love to invite you on the show, give you about 30 minutes, an entrepreneur opportunity. We love people with the entrepreneur spirit. And we absolutely want to get some shout outs to businesses and events. If you're having an event, reach out because we'd love to talk about it. And it doesn't just have to be in Tooele. It could be anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere in the country, as
Mhm.
long as you have the dream and the idea and you want people to know about it. Let us help you. Let us help you get the word out. Also, you say I'm going somewhere fun. I'm actually not, but I will be out for a couple of weeks. And I'm
Mhm.
hopefully when I come back, I'll be a new, revised, better version
She'll
of
be fun.
myself. Yeah.
She won't
So
yell at me for making bad jokes.
I don't yell, but I do wonder.
She does when we shut it off. She's like, you
Oh yeah,
what?
he's a beat dog. Yeah, you can tell, right?
I'm just not smart enough to know when I step over a line. But anyways, everyone have a happy Easter. Thanks for joining us.
Please like and share, guys. Your
yes.
comments have been awesome. Help us trick the algorithm by letting them know that other people need to see us and see our guests like Phil. And I've still got the horizon in my mind regarding that VR headset school, and I'm just like. I so want people to understand what's going on. Jared and I's intention isn't to get rich and famous. Our intention is to get people educated on what's going on, to have them be better citizens, better voters, more informed people, and just have conversations that we don't have to agree. We just have to listen and share. And so please like and share the video. If you're not subscribed, please do so now and hit that notification button so that you know when we go live. And that would really help us a lot. And we hope that you've been entertained and informed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to do a commercial for your little drink there?
This beer wasn't too bad. This Proper Brewing Company do less. West Coast style India Pale Ale. I don't know if you guys are a pale ale type of guy. I enjoyed it. India Pale Ale means it has more hops.
You could do a whole podcast just on different beers because I've never seen you with the same one twice.
I almost started a podcast with a couple buddies of mine. We all brew beer, but we all have.
It's funny you're not married to brands. It seems like you always are trying something new.
Well, I enjoy beer. I'm not like I'm not addicted to it. A lot of time
I don't mean that. I mean you are see, if someone came to me, and I like a drink once in a while, and my drink of choice when I'm having dinner or something is vodka. But not just any vodka. I'm one of those people that loves Absolute. Whereas you could throw Grey Goose at me, and if someone said tonight's Grey Goose or tonight's, what's that? The other one I'm having a brain fart. The cheap one from Russia. It's in all the wells at all the bars. It's the cheaper version. I'm not somebody. I'll just go without. No, thank you. I don't like the brand. Whereas you love beer, but you're not married to a brand where it's like, I'm not going to drink that because that's not the brand I like, So you're a connoisseur of beers. And I think that a lot of people would like it.
Well, me and a couple of buddies, we also brew beer. So
right. You brewed that jalapeno.
Oh yeah. The jalapeno beer. IPA was delightful.
But it knocked you on your rear.
Oh no, you're talking the jalapeno Pilsner I did.
Yes.
I think something got in
the one that you dumped on the ground. I'm not counting.
I think something got in. I think got some ergot in it.
I think he was probably at like a 14%.
No, it's not that strong.
Well, it knocked you on your.
I think it's like the dancing nun situation with me. Everyone, have a happy Easter.
We love you, and we remember what Easter is all about.
If
the
you
resurrection. Thank you, Jesus, for our
go somewhere.
For the promise.
Go somewhere and celebrate it with kids, because man, Easter's only the best when there's little kids chasing eggs and being little kids and in their dress up clothes that are pastel colored. That's a good time.
Easter memories, guys. And
Heck yeah.
I know my kids are older now, but we have to remember what the holiday is about. And today, happy Good Friday to those of you that are Christians. And we're so grateful. I'm so grateful for Jesus. And I hope that you have a wonderful Easter weekend, very safe.
Mhm.
And I will miss you all for the next couple of weeks, but I will be tuning in.
As soon as she's up to it,
and
she'll
I
be
may
back.
be commenting. But if my comments are delusional, please forgive me. You'll tell me, right? You'll be like, Holly,
at all.
no more comments.
If you go delusional, I'm going to be talking you into more comments.
Oh, see, maybe I'll just stay off it. Mom,
No,
I'm going to need you
don't
to
do it.
babysit me.
No, hey, Sherry, let's get together. Let's make this fun.